Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video, and a very controversial feature has been announced for patch 11.1.7, which is the one-button rotation assist that you can find by opening up your spellbook and looking towards the top right-hand corner of it. You can drag this single-button assistant to basically any button you want on your action bar and then bind it the same way that you would a skill or an ability. But in today's video, I wanted to cover this one-button rotation from the aspects of PvP. Which specializations could realistically use this in PvP and perhaps see more success than just manually playing your character? I think it is important to note that this single button assistant does come with a global cooldown penalty of about 0.3 seconds, but some specializations will feel less of that penalty than others, which means that they may actually likely be more viable. So I've got all the characters set up on the PTR here, and we are going to be running the gauntlet of each of the specializations, and I'm going to be giving you my feedback basically of which ones feel like they could basically be doing the same rotation as me, and basically maybe better in some cases because you don't have to worry about lining up your cooldowns where you drop a global thinking about what your next ability is going to be. Also, some of these rotations don't include all of the cooldowns, so we are going to note that as well, because some of the specializations that do include cooldowns are likely going to outperform others. But we obviously have a lot of specializations to test here, so let's get started. So the first ability, you can see it here on my one key bind, so I'm only going to be pressing the one key binding, actually just for the sake of it. I'm going to be putting it on my mouse and maybe showing my mouse on stream here so you can see that I am only pressing this one button. So we do have to target the PvP training dummy here, and we've got it targeted. So we're going to hold our mouse up and we're just going to press. Are we not targeting it? Okay, we're just going to press our one button and we are just going to go through this. So it can use Hammer of Light, it uses Divine Toll, it rotates through our spenders, it prioritizes Blade of Justice over Judgment then to Empower. It looks like we're lagging out on the PTR a little bit here, but we're getting procs. It uses Hammer of Wrath when it's in Hammer of Wrath range, so it can adapt for Execute. It's playing pretty effectively. Now, I will say I can feel the GCD penalty on this, so I do think on Ret Paladin, likely manual is still going to be more preferred in PvP situations than maybe playing like this. Mostly just because Ret Paladin, you can kind of just bonk, and I don't think it's really a big deal as far as like what keybinds you're pressing. It's also important to note that it does not use Final Reckoning, but it will use our Hammer of Light, and it looks like it will use our Wake of Ashes in order to activate our Avenging Wrath. So it uses a decent amount of cooldowns within your rotation. So like if you had never played a Ret Paladin before, maybe you would want to use this. If you're below 1400, I could see it. But I don't. I feel like the GCD penalty on a class like a Ret, where you don't have any cast bars, so every spell is just getting slower and slower and slower. It's one of those things where maybe at low rating, if you can kill somebody in your cooldown window before that advantage of the global cooldown starts to stack up, it might be a bigger issue. It definitely would increase your awareness for being able to use Sanctuary or Freedom or Interrupt. There's definitely some big benefits in that regard as far as awareness increase, and it's definitely usable. Like I would say that out of all the rotations, I'd say this one is usable. So like if I was going to give this a tier list ranking, it'd probably be like an A tier, where maybe you could get away with using it. Now do note, I think that it is their goal, if any of these end up actually being that strong, that they're probably going to add more to the penalty. I have seen PvE players saying that they think that this is not going to be really good at all in a lot of cases in PvE environments. So in PvP, it's probably even more so the case, especially if you're a class that has any sort of filler ability. But Ret Paladin, that pretty much used every single effective ability that you would want to use on a Ret Paladin. Look darn good. Now, Demon Hunter. And so it's interesting that I think this one button rotation assist is helping specializations that probably need help the least. You know, like Ret Paladin rotation, you can kind of just like smack the buttons. It's like, oh, you press Judgment before Blade of Justice, who cares? You know, like it's not going to be the end of the world, but it actually, you know, is going to help you on an easier class. With something maybe more complicated, not saying Demon Hunter necessarily, more complicated like an Outlaw Rogue or an Arcane Mage, I'm not sure if it's going to be able to give us the same types of benefits. But it looks like we get a little bit of a talent tree rework also in this patch that I'm going to have to take into account here for Demon Hunter. I haven't played my Demon Hunter a little bit. I got the Elite set on it, and then I kind of just benched it for a while, but it is getting buffed pretty soon. So again, you just pull up the 1-button rotation assist. You can obviously go on the PTR yourself and test this as well. Demon Hunter, I'm very curious to see what it does. So it knows to use Sigil first to buff Mastery. It knows to get Immolation Aura up. It knows to I-Beam before Essence Break, so it will use Essence Break. This is a pretty effective rotation so far. It's spending our Fury. It did use the Sigil a little bit late now. I thought I was going to use the Sigil at first, and then it didn't use it right away. We'll see if it kind of corrects itself as it goes through its cooldowns. It's important to note that it doesn't use the Hunt. It doesn't use Metamorphosis. It will throw Glaive as filler. Immolation Aura. Blade Dance when available. Chaos Strike when it can. And if it doesn't have anything, it'll actually do nothing. So like there's some points here where I have no Fury, have no I-Beam, have no Throw Glaive, and it'll actually use nothing in those positions. But I will say like its Essence Break timing, it's not the best. The Essence Break here towards the end of the Metamorphosis, like we're talking PvP, right? So in PvP, you're lining your Metamorphosis with your Essence Break because it increases the damage of your Annihilation by a significant amount to be able to line those up. So the fact that the first round of this was lined up was pretty nice, but it seems like it's going to get desynced the more out of sync your I-Beam gets. And also like these dead globals, you would want to be using something during that time. So it's kind of, I'd say it's like a B tier. I'd say this is like you probably wouldn't want to be using this for like, maybe if it's your first time ever playing it, but the fact that it can't really keep your Essence Break lined up, like is it just going to press Essence Break here, for example, because Essence Break is available. And so it's saving Essence Break now. So it will only Essence Break during I-Beam. Is it just because my I-Beam was active for like 2 seconds, so it prioritized it? So it's trying to do that. I guess it's not the worst if it is actually trying to do that, which is kind of crazy that it is even trying to do that in the first place. I'm going to say it's about a B. I think it's mostly just because Demon Hunter cooldowns, they don't really sync up as effectively as a lot of the other classes' abilities might. And it's got this priority of wanting to get I-Beam on CD as much as possible, but then also wanting to line it up. But the fact that it does actually try to consider lining up Essence Break might outperform a player who doesn't do that. That's like the big complicated thing about the Demon Hunter rotation is like, yeah, you can spam all your DPS buttons and play through, but if you don't know how to line up the I-Beam and the Essence Break, your burst damage kind of falls off. Probably like a high B, like maybe it's usable. Again, this is, I would say, from rating ranges of like 0 to maybe 1500 rating. I think once you get past 1500 rating, the GCD penalty on melee classes becomes a lot more heavy, so you're going to have to really consider that. Now, Mage, on the other hand, it's got some casted spells and it's got filler spells that you generally don't use in PvP. So very curious to see how it fits into the rotation. They have said that they are going to iterate in future versions where you will be able to edit out certain spells. If they do that, then this is definitely going to become a lot better for casters. So I've already dragged it down to my action bar here. It's keybound to my number 1. We got Arcane Mage, one of the most complicated specs basically to play rotationally in PvP because it's so nuanced. It's not that straightforward. It starts out with Arcane Orb to generate charges. Does it use Touch of the Magi? It spams out barrages. It uses Arcane Blast. It's already not good. It does use Touch of the Magi, and it can fire missiles at full stacks, but the Arcane Blasts, generally in PvP, you're avoiding Arcane Blast unless you have Presence of Mind, which it doesn't use, and it looks like it doesn't use Arcane Surge Evocation, so it's not ramping up your cooldowns at all. It's kind of just giving you a static, hard cast, single target rotation, which is just something that you don't really do. You would just use other globals. It doesn't use Shifting Power either, it looks like, which obviously you would want to use Shifting Power to reset Touch of the Magi. You would want to use Shifting Power to reset your Shimmer charges in PvP and your Arcane Orbs in PvP. So it might be okay for a battleground where you're like static or something, but even then you would not be using Arcane Blast like this. You would just be spamming Barrage, basically. I wonder what happens if you move. So even if you move, it doesn't get rid of it. But if they update it so you can remove Arcane Blast from the rotation and just replace it with Arcane Barrage, it probably wouldn't be that bad. But as it stands right now, I'd put it like at the bottom of a tier list. I would put it on like a D or something. I don't see it being that effective. Now, I just logged out when I needed to check out 2 more specializations on this, so we got to log right back in. We got Fire and we got Frost. Now, Frost I'm kind of expecting to do really well. I think that Frost, just mostly because it's mostly instant cast damage, Flurry, Ice Lance, get rid of your Shatter combo procs. I think that it's likely going to actually be really effective for Frost. So let's try Frost out. Arcane It's kind of just doo-doo just because it includes Arcane Blast. It doesn't use our Shimmer either. So we got our 1 keybind set up here. So we're just going to be pressing 1 button and nothing else. It Frozen Orbs, it Comet Storms, it Shifting Powers, and then it cancels the Shifting Power if you're spamming the button. I don't like that. Maybe it was better that it didn't include Shifting Power on the rotation, because you would want a Shifting Power to get your Comet Storm back. Your Icy Veins and your Comet Storm PvP are your main abilities you want to use Shifting Power for. But the fact that it actually interrupts my own cast is kind of bad. Now, it does cast Frostfire Bolts when you don't have any instant damage. It prioritizes getting Comet Storm on cooldown, which in PvP, players can run out of it. So generally, you're trying to like Frost Nova a target, snare a target, make sure a target is stunned before you press it. So this might not be the most effective if you're attacking targets that have high mobility that are always moving, because you're just going to miss your Comet Storms. It's just going to put it on the ground. They're going to move out of it. But it can do the instant cast part of the rotation pretty effectively, which is just literally just Ice Lance if you have this little proc up here, Winter's Chill, and if you don't, press Flurry. And then if you don't have either of those, Frostfire Bolt. So it's probably like, I'd say like a B. I don't like the Shifting Power. I think the Shifting Power is creating a lot of difficulty in the rotation, like this. I think the Shifting Power in the rotation is not making it that great, at least for PvP. So it's probably like a B as far as Frost is concerned. Now, Fire. Can a single button macro, when I've decided to drop combat, can a single button macro save Fire in PvP? Because Fire has just not been great, basically, at all for PvP. So we got the 1 button here. It's on our mouse here. It uses Meteor first. So it's got a Meteor. It Scorches. Okay, so it's Scorching because it's in execute range. But it's not using any of our instant procs, or it's using very sparingly our instant procs, and it's not using Phoenix Flames. So you would generally not be playing like this. You wouldn't just be like spamming Scorch like this. You would be using most of your instant cast procs, so it's pretty far away from where you would be. I kind of wonder what it does. So it doesn't use Combust. This one also, I don't know if it uses Shifting Power because it's on cooldown, but let's try pressing Combust and then see what it does. So it's still hard cast Scorch. It's okay, so it's using some instance, but it's still hard casting. It's not using Phoenix Flames. It does use Shifting Power though, but I don't know why you would want to. It's only resetting the Fire Blast. This one's an F. This one's an F. I don't think you would use this in PvP at all. The rotation seems really scuffed. It's starting to slide some Phoenix Flames in, but you would not be doing the rotation like this. I kind of wonder how it operates when you're on the move, because you can cast Scorch while moving. So this one's kind of nice because you could do it on the move at least. It seems like, at least if they're in execute range, because I assume if they're not, it'll cast Frostfire Bolt instead. But I'd say this is like an F on rotation as far as like viability in PvP. I don't see Fire, that 1 button rotation working. So Mage is kind of iffy. I think the casters are a big what if, just because they have filler spells, so many complicated nuanced situations that are different from PvE to PvP. Now maybe you could like cut out Fireball or cut out Scorch from this rotation, and then just press that manually whenever you know that you've ran out of procs. Because to me it should be like Frost, where as soon as you run out of procs, then you start casting the casted spell. But it prioritizes the casted spell first, which I don't think is going to be great. We got Warrior, which I'm expecting to be really good. Just I think all the melee instant cast ones are generally going to be pretty straightforward and likely very viable. With the 1 button macro, I think it's the casters that are going to likely not be able to use it as much, which ironically in PvP, I think it's probably caster DPS at the low end that need help with their rotation more than melee. So we got the 1 button here on our mouse. So we're going to charge the target. It uses Spear of Bastion first for a Fury Warrior. It rampages. It Blade Storms right away, so it doesn't wait for the stacks from the execute procs. It just uses Blade Storm, gets it on cooldown almost immediately. It does generate rage, uses execute when in execute range, prioritizing that. It uses rampage at max range, rage, onslaught when available, rampage. Rotation's not bad. I can feel the GCD being slow on it, but I would say the rotation is not bad. Now it's weird that it uses things like Spear of Bastion, but it doesn't use Recklessness, because Spear of Bastion could be missed in PvP when you try and land it. I wonder if the auto spear will be more accurate than a player throwing a spear on the ground. It probably won't be, but the fact that it doesn't use Recklessness is a bit strange relative to the fact that it uses Spear of Bastion. But the rotation's not bad. I'd say this is an A tier. S tier we're going to leave for like the Omega good ones, I guess, but this is pretty close. I feel like if it used Recklessness, it'd probably be an S tier rotation bot, which again, did Fury Warrior really need more help? It uses Blade Storm at maximum stacks as well. so it can track the stacks with the hero talent tree build. I'd say it's at least an A tier, at least an A tier for Fury Warrior. Now we got Arms Warrior as well, and Arms Warrior has some cooldowns like Colossus Smash. Curious to see if it uses it or not. Like, what's the credentials? Because Spear of Bastion is a pretty long cooldown, minute and a half. Like, what were the metrics for that? So we got Arms Warrior now. Spear's on cooldown. So just wait a second here for Spear to come off cooldown, and it uses Spear first. I don't know if I like that in a PvP situation. I think that's the only thing holding this back from being S tier. And then, of course, I forgot to unequip my axe, and my Arms Warrior cannot dual wield. It uses Colossus Smash. It uses Overpower to buff up your Mortal Strike. It uses Overpower procs. It uses Execute procs. It uses Mortal Strike after it's been juiced up. Execute procs. It uses Blade Storm at stacks. Not too bad. Probably like an A tier. The same way, it's probably about the same as a Fury Warrior. I'm trying to think. I think the Spear of Bastion kind of takes it down a little bit though, because like in PvP, you wouldn't want it to just like auto chuck a spear like that. You're just gonna miss it like 99% of the time. So I don't think you would want that. You'd probably rather it uses Dragon Roar automatically than Spear, which is weird that it like they're the same cooldown. They're a minute and a half, but it uses one of them and it doesn't use the other. I'll leave it at an A tier. You can feel the GCD on it. Again, the longer a game goes, like the less this is gonna do. If you'd never played a warrior before, I don't think this is like maybe would be honestly that bad of a start. It uses Heroic Throw if you run out of range and don't have anything else. Okay, so it's got a little bit of like adaptability in it as well for increasing your overall damage. So like Warrior across the board is about an A tier. Mage so far is like a D minus, you know, D to F between all three specs. Ret Paladin's an A, Demon Hunter's a B. I'd say as far as like, could you use this, right? Like let's say you're just totally new to a spec PvP, or you're just really bad. You think it might help you out. You know, the higher rated it is on this tier list, then the more likely it'll probably help you. Now my rogue isn't level 80, but I have it set up from Dragonfly. I played all three specs. I think I got 2400 challenge done on Outlaw. I don't think I actually completed it on Assassination or Subtlety. I need to do those this expansion. I've been meaning to level. I think my rogue's 77 on live servers, but the level's not going to really matter that much. All of the hero talent trees are pretty much passives. So I just want to see, like, can it track a rotation effectively for a rogue? Because this has been like one of the most difficult classes to get effective damage out of any class in the game. So it doesn't put you in stealth, it looks like. You'll have to start in stealth. And if you start in stealth, it'll roll the bones, ghostly strike, ambush. You use ambush, so it won't stun. It betweens the eyes at maximum stacks. So far, not bad rotation. When I'm just watching this, it uses ambush procs, uses dispatch, uses pistol shots procs. I wouldn't say that this is honestly that bad, considering if you've never played an outlaw rogue. Now, it doesn't look like it. So it doesn't stun, and it doesn't use adrenaline rush. It's just basic combo point management, and it looks like it doesn't really do roll the bones. Okay, so it rolled the bones there. I wonder if it has like a tracker for roll the bones to know whether or not like a buff you have is an optimal roll the bones or not. Honestly, this isn't that bad in the sense that it would let you focus on other things. But like, what happens if I throw a kidney shot? It can attribute for that. It can actually attribute for that. If I throw in, what happens if I throw in a vanish, and like I throw in a cheap shot or something? It'll adapt the rotation. This is honestly better than I expected for outlaw. This is not that bad, especially if you're someone. Outlaw is really hard to play, generally speaking. So like, I don't think this is that bad. It doesn't keep roll the bones up perfectly. Is like the only criticism. It feels like it takes a while to get the roll bones going in some situations. And obviously doesn't use the vanishes, so you could think only just about cheap shotting and trying to vanish on a target, though. This is scarily good for Outlaw. I was not expecting that to be as good. I'm going to put that on A tier. I almost want to put that on S tier because of how hard Outlaw Rogue typically is to play. So that one was really good. I'm actually very surprised by that. Outlaw Rogue looks like a very strong one-button macro. Now, some of these talents are not filled in, but I don't think it's going to really matter as far as like just figuring out the one button and seeing what it can do as far as a rotation. It knows to put poisons on. You'll never forget to put poisons on if this is on your bar. I've seen people lose BlizzCon championship titles because they forgot to put poisons on. It'll use throw knife if out of range, slice and dice if out of range. So you'd have to go in stealth yourself. It Kingsbane's really early, likely just to get it on CD. It ruptures at 5 combo points. I'm interested to know why it's choosing to use Poison Knife from melee range instead of Sinister Strike. Very interesting that it uses the ranged ability. Is it because I have a sword on and not a dagger? It's probably because I don't have a dagger on or something, right? Let me put a dagger on. No, it's still using the same. It does know how to use Shiv, which is interesting. I don't know if you would want it to use Shiv, because Shiv in PvP is used for timing your Mortal Strike and reducing healing on a target. So it just like auto presses it when you're not really at a high pressure point where you would want to reduce healing. It's not that great. And it doesn't really use Death Mark. So you would have to know, like, you got Kingsbane on the target, you got the full bleeds on it, you got like... this would require a lot more like manual engagement, I think, than Outlaw. Now, obviously, I think my talents are the reason why I'm like really energy starved, but... we'll try to use Death Mark manually. Like we could see, oh, we got full poison. It's time to Death Mark. I'd say this is like a B, maybe lower than a B, just because I don't really know why it's using Poison Knife when it's out of range, or when it's in range. I think that's a bit weird. So I guess Sinister Strike. Maybe I've been doing my rotation wrong the whole time. Is Poison Knife better than using Sinister Strike? I think I might have learned how to play Rogue. I always thought you just used the builder, the melee builder, but apparently I might have learned something new. Maybe this one button macro might actually teach people something. And then finally, Subtlety, which is like one of the most complex, nuanced like combo specs in the game, basically. As far as being able to like do stuff, is it going to be able to effectively get a rotation off? Is now the question as well. So it doesn't start in stealth, so I'm in stealth. It's applying instant poison because its poisons fell off. It uses Death Mark first global, so like if we cheap shot the target, it'll dance, use a secret technique. It knows how to build max combo points. It doesn't look like it knows how to use Shadow Blades though, and it can run out of options really fast, but that's probably because of my talent tree and being low level. This one's a little bit unfortunate. It knows to apply Rupture. It's just not generating combo points really fast enough because I think I'm too low level on it. It's not too bad, but again, because you would need to stun, like Rogue is all about doing this rotation in a very specific order at a specific time, unlike Outlaw, which is kind of just, you're just doing it at all the times, right? So Outlaw probably benefits more from this, I think, than Subtlety. Assassination seems like it doesn't at all. This one's a bit harder for me to rate. It does use Dance Secret Technique. It's got like a pretty decent, just like, I feel like I'm watching a Palamore guide on how to like build the one button rotation for Subtlety Rogue that he tried to build for one of his videos or something, but it's meh. I'd probably say it's like a C tier for Subtlety. It's a C tier. So Outlaw A tier, Assassination Rogue, what did I say, like D tier probably, and then Subtlety's probably like C tier or something like that would be my best bet on Rogue. Honestly, that was a little bit better than what I would have expected for it. So a little bit better. Let's try a Devastation Evoker. This is the notorious one button spec without the one button macro existing. So this could be very entertaining to see what it's able to do as far as that's concerned, because like I feel like a lot of people consider this is just the spam disintegrate, fly around in a circle build. I'm curious to see if it can pull it off. So its first ability it casts is Fire Breath, which is not great. Typically you'd want a Deep Breath and then Tip the Scales Fire Breath. So that's already telling me that it probably doesn't use Tip the Scales. So let's see. It always fully channels. You can't stop it either. And it casts Eternity Surge at fully channeled. This is F tier. It's already F tier. It does know how to use Disintegrate. Living Flames and Disintegrates in between. What happens if I hover? Can it do my rotation while I hover? Looks like it can do a rotation while you hover, but it won't use Deep Breath and it won't use Tip the Scales. And the fact that it fully charges your Fire Breath is yucky. It's yucky. And it immediately fully charges your Eternity Surge. Like, I just lost my Shattering Star because it took so long to do that. And it had to restart because I was spamming it too much. F tier. This is F tier. I don't even need to spend that much time on this to know that's not... that it's better to just play it manually. It's not Devastation is not hard to the point where you think you should need that. The one button macro is definitely worse. It's definitely worse. But let's try Augmentation Evoker out and see what goes on, because this guy's got a bit more of a combat spec. So it uses Prescience. It buffs its allies before it goes into its rotation. It Ebon Mites first, and it fully channels the Fire Breath. Again, this is not how you would play this in PvP. You would want to be. Oh my God! There's no way. And the Upheaval is also fully channeled. Nah, this is F tier. I don't think you could do this in PvP. I don't think you could do it. There's no. I think Evoker, as far as one button macro in PvP, that's an F tier. There's no way you would be able to get away with doing that and be able to actually like win a game. You know what I mean? Because there are certain conditions on classes in PvP in order to win that you have to meet that would never have a chance of getting you to that condition to actually win the game. Now, DK is a 1-button macro going to save a Death Knight as far as PvP viability, because it wasn't looking too great. But we're gonna log on. We're gonna give it a test. We're gonna give it a run. Frost and Unholy. Unholy DK. It's got a little bit more of a complicated rotation, but we're Frost right now, so it looks like we start off with Howling Blast, which isn't bad. Where you're out of range of the target, so it'll use a ranged ability as well. And as we run closer, it'll spam Howling Blast if we don't get in range. It uses Pillar. It generates runes and runic power. It spends the runic power. It doesn't use Cindergosa, so you would obviously have to use Stun and Cindergosa. You'd have to use Empowered Rune Weapon manually. And if you did use those, it can do a decent effective rotation. It's probably A tier. Again, the melee I think are pretty safe to do well, unless they're a spec that like requires a specific combo to pull off, which Frost can, but you could just death grip targets together and spam your 1-button damage button with your cooldown separate. You could probably do that. And again, I'm thinking like 1500 rating or lower whenever I say that. I don't want somebody coming in here and be like, there's no way you would do that above 1500. That would never work. There's not a chance that would ever work. And it's like, yes, okay, I agree with you. I don't think above 1500, maybe not. But below 1500, if you've been hard stuck down there, this 1-button might get you a little bit of rating. It might push you a little bit up. So as Unholy, it looks like it uses our Pet Empower as the first global, which is not terrible. So we're just going to press the 1-button. It builds up Festerers. Okay. Uses the big... It builds... Okay, it can use a lot of abilities. It uses Apocalypse there. I think it used Unholy Frenzy too in order to build up the 4 stacks. It's not bad. It's popping our wounds. It uses a runic power. It prioritizes popping over runic power. Does it reapply dots? Dots just fell off. It should use Epidemic here. Okay, use it a little bit late, but it did use it. Now, it doesn't use Raise Abomination, it looks like, so we'd have to manually press this. It does use Apocalypse, though. It's so inconsistent. Like, Raise Abomination is a 1.5 minute cooldown. Spirit Bastion's a 1.5 minutes. I don't know how they decided what would use what, but this is not bad. I'd say it's A tier. This is A tier. So as far as like 1500 or lower, and like maybe it could help you out, maybe it could get you a little bit of rating. I think it's an A tier, definitely. Frost and Unholy, like these are 2 specs that, yeah, I could see that not being too shabby. Now, if we could drop combat really fast, that would be nice. But obviously, I have a DK and I got perma dots, and dots keep you in combat forever now, apparently. Actually, I think it's just got me out. So let's go on to the next class. What's it gonna be? We got Warlock. I'm always getting to my main class, Boomkin, to see what's gonna be possible with that. Now, casters I expect to not be as great because they've got filler spells, and I don't know how it's been prioritized for PvE, because obviously I think this is mostly for PvE, and I'm just thinking, it could be fun. So it starts off with Shadowburn as the first ability from ranged for Destro Lock. So Shadowburn, it does 2 of them to get rid of your soul shards. It conflags twice before using Wither, and it soul fires without a proc. That's not good. You would never do that in PvP. You would already be really angry trying to do it. Uses the soul fire with a proc. That's fine. Soul fire with a proc is fine. Soul fire without a proc is, what are we doing? Why did it cast a soul fire without a proc instead of just casting Immolate to put Wither up to begin with? It doesn't use Infernal, it looks like. So you'd have to manually use Infernal. I think this is like a D tier, though. The fact that it uses Soulfire without a proc. It's not even using Immolate, it looks like here. Like, you can see me. It's not putting Wither up. It could just easily put Wither up by just pressing Immolate. So maybe it's not coded to use Wither. I think they probably just forgot to put Wither in it, because it's only applying Wither with Soulfire. This is an F tier. This is an F tier. I don't think you'd be able to use this rotation as Destro. I doubt it. I would greatly doubt it, at least in its current iteration. Obviously, this is the first iteration, so things are likely going to be enhanced from this point, but the fact that it uses Soulfire, hardcast long with no proc, is really bad, and it doesn't use Immolate to apply Wither, so I think it's unlikely that you would... my little buddy here is keeping me in combat. Bagrim, what are you doing? Come back here. We need to go Affliction. Affliction Warlock. Now, this is a notorious spec for people doing massive amounts of damage on. Do we think that a 1-button macro is going to outdamage an Affliction Warlock. So it uses Corruption. So it already doesn't interact with PvP talents. So I have Jinx, which applies Corruption and Agony through one of my other curses, which is how you would apply Corruption. It doesn't do that. So it's already D tier. It prioritizes UA before putting Agony up. I disagree. You'd want to get all these instant dots up first. It does use Soul Rot. It does use Phantom Singularity. It haunts way after you use Malefic Rapture. This is like at best a D, but I want to say an F. The main reason I want to say an F is because it doesn't interact with Jinx. And I think the casting order of the dots is you would just get kick spammed, right? By people trying to cast UA before you've put all of your other instant dots up. So it's like a D at best. This is a D at best, I think, as far as rotation. Does use all the Shadow Bolt procs, uses Haunt. Doesn't use Dark Glare, though. You'd have to manually use that if you wanted to extend your Soul Rot, as an example. Yeah, it's probably a D. It doesn't feel that bad once you get it going, if you manage to get it going, but I think the ramp up point, it would be the main issue with it at the moment. Now, is this little Dark Glare going to keep me in combat? He probably is. Let's get him out of there. Now we got Demonology. So unfortunately, it seems that the casters, at least my expectation, would be that these rotations are not going to be like even remotely effective, basically, in PvP. But Demonology, so it uses Grimoire Felguard as its first ability. So we'll call in the second Felguard. It does Gloomhound, which is right. Dreadstalkers. It Blade Storms. It's not bad. It doesn't use Tyrant, though. It uses instant procs. It doesn't know what to do when it's run out of Soul Shards. It should be Shadow Bolting right now. I don't know why it's not Shadow Bolting. I think this is an F. Some of these ones don't feel like they're completed. Because like this should cast Shadow Bolt right now, but it's just blank. So this one's kind of an F, just because it literally doesn't work, right? Like I just spent like how many seconds there not even doing anything because it didn't know what to do. Apparently, if you have no Soul Shards. It was looking okay for a while. I think if they clean it up, this one's not that bad. Yeah, if they cleaned it up and they put Shadow Bolt in there, like here where it's doing nothing, this one's not that bad. So let's assume that they'll clean this one up and they'll put Shadow Bolt in. It's probably like B tier. Honestly, one of the better caster ones. It uses the pets in the right order. If it's just spamming Shadow Bolt when you had nothing else to do, it would definitely be, I think, A tier, honestly. That might be the first A tier caster spec so far. Other than, did I say Frost Mage was A tier? I might have said Frost Mage was A tier. We got Druid, we got Feral, we got Boomkin. Feral Druid's notoriously one of the most complicated specs to do. Most intricate melee DPS with bleed management, buff management, whole bunch of things you got to cycle through and micromanage. So Feral Druid is likely going to be, I would imagine, interesting to see if it can actually manage to pull off the rotation. So looks like these macros also don't put you in stealth. So like if I start in stealth, it still wants to use Adaptive Swarm, which is incorrect. You would not start with Adaptive Swarm. You would Rake Stun. So its opener is already kind of bad, right? So I would Rake Stun manually. Then it goes to the rotation at Feral Frenzies. It uses Rip at full bleeds. It applies Moonfire. It's using Brutal Slash before Shred, which is intelligent. It knows to Ferocious Bite at max combo points. It's still prioritizing Brutal Slash. It's not bad. It's not bad. Outside of its opener. Outside of its opener, not using Rake to Rake Stun from stealth. Like if they could program in to use Rake if in stealth. This was not that bad. I think this is, outside the opener, I want to put this on like an A tier. I think this is, especially for Feral Druid, because like Feral Druids can be very difficult. Like, so if you're just making this as an alt for the first time, there might be some high likelihood that you'd want to use this to begin with in PvP. Now remember, GCD, longer a fight goes on, less overall damage you're going to do. But like, it's not that bad. Honestly, it teaches you how to play a little bit, right? Like you can just watch it, and you can just be like, okay, what does it do when it has no Moonfire? It Moonfires. What does it do when it has no Thrash? It thrashes. What does it do? Oh, Rip fell off. It ripped. And you can almost like track how to learn. You can learn how to play with the one button just by watching it. And there's a rotation assist as well. That isn't just the one button that you should definitely consider as well, which I think everybody's going to turn on. I'm definitely going to be turning that one on. So Feral Druid, not bad. Feral Druid is not that shabby. Not that shabby. Boomkin, my spec. My home turf. What do you mean I'm in combat, man? I think this Adaptive Swarm is going to Giga Troll me right now and keep me in combat permanently, but let's hope it doesn't, because we got a lot of specs. We got a lot of specs to look at. All right, so let's see Boomy here. So Boomy uses Trents. It looks like it doesn't use Incarn, so we're going to have to use, well, we'll just see. Maybe it uses it. It doesn't use Incarn, so you would never Trents. What is this Starfire cast? Okay. That was not a good... It uses Starfall on a single target. This is a Monka for me. I think it's like a D tier. Maybe not an F, but like it's casting a lot when you shouldn't cast. In PvP at least. Can it like tell if I incarn? And like adapt its strategy? Not really. Yeah, this is like a D tier at best. D tier at best. Pharaoh Druid's an A tier, but this is like maybe a D tier. Maybe it could get up to a C tier. It's just the double hard casted Starfire is something you would never do. Although I guess let me try again. Let me try again with Incarn first, right? So the one button, Incarn, and now we trans. And now what does it do? Because we're already in Eclipse. It immediately goes to Spenders. I mean, you could spec out a Starfall. I don't even know why I'm spec'd into Starfall on this character. I don't remember it being spec'd into Starfall when I had it. If you spec'd out a Starfall, I'd imagine it would use Star Surge, which this wouldn't be that bad. So if you remember to use Incarn before the rotation, it's probably like a B tier. But it's still Arcast too much. But if you don't manually use Incarn, its rotation is D tier at best. You would never want to use Trents without Incarn, especially at the start of an engagement in PvP. That would just never happen. You would never want to do that. So it's like B tier at best if you manually intervene on it a little bit. Bro, what is this? Is it you, buddy? The little Fey Dragon just keeping me in combat right now? Like, let's go, man. We got other specs to see. We got other specs to see what's going on. So we got, oh my god, we have a lot of classes left. I didn't even realize there's so many classes. We got Shadow Priest. A lot of these guys probably only have one spec each, but Shadow Priest, I'm expecting it to be doo-doo because it's got a lot of filler spells like Mind Blast and stuff that you generally don't cast a huge amount in PvP. Mostly because you're just going to get kicked on it and it's not a high priority. It doesn't really hit that hard. So for Shadow Priest, it looks like it starts with Shadow Crash, which is not bad. It's probably not going to Dark Ascend would be my guess. So it Shadow Crashes. Why would it cast VT? And then it Mind Blasts. It Void Torrents before Devouring Plaguing. This is garbage. This is Garbanzo. I think this is Garbanzo. The fact that it Shadow Crashes and then casts a VT again before it has the time for Shadow Crash to even hit the ground is pretty bad. It looks like it prioritizes Mind Blasting over Mind Flay and Sanities. In PvP, you would... This is like I mean, you could... It would function more than what the... I don't know. I want to say F. I want to say F. I'm maybe trying to be too nice, but I really want to say F. The lack of prioritization on Devouring Plague with Void Torrent is pretty bad. Yeah. I think it's not the best. The prioritization also on Mind Blast. Now, if you could edit the rotation again, like which they've said that you could probably take Mind Blast out of it. And maybe it would be a bit better. But there are times where you would want to Mind Blast. It's just not that much. Or maybe if they could customize it so you can change the priority on it. That's something that maybe you could consider. But Shadow is pretty like a D tier, F tier. D tier, F tier territory for Shadow. We got Windwalker Monk, which I think a lot of players do consider a little bit more complicated because it's got the hit combo where you're trying to use a different ability every time so you can stack up your, well, it used to be your master. I don't know if it's even considered your master or a talent anymore with how many times it's been kind of tweaked around, but let's see if it can manage to keep up with hit combo, which means I'm going to be tracking to see if it casts a different ability every time that it presses. So it does use Storm, Earth, and Fire. So Strike of the Windlord, Fist of Fury, Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick. Why did I Blackout Kick twice? That's already a mistake. Okay, it uses Whirling Dragon Punch, Spinning Crane Kick. It uses Jab, Blackout Kick, Spinning Crane Kick with procs, Storm, Earth, and Fire again as soon as you have it. Rising Sun Kick when it's available, Blackout Kick. This double Blackout Kick seems really weird. I don't know why it's prioritizing the double Blackout Kick. That's like the only thing I'm seeing so far that's like really bad. Otherwise, it seems to be prioritizing the most effective spell that you could do in a different order than the previous one. It's just every once in a while it does this double Blackout Kick. So like it's not bad, but it would be resetting your stacks doing what it's doing, I think, with the double Blackout Kick. Like I think it's going to be right here maybe. No, it's got other abilities to cast first. I think it's when it runs out of abilities at like max chi, it starts not knowing what to do. But it also doesn't Zwen, it doesn't Celestial Conduit, it doesn't Slicing Winds. It's not like awful. I think the double black eye kick overlap. This is probably like a B. Like maybe you could do it. Like if you never played it before, you just want to log on, kind of give it a go. Like maybe a B, C, somewhere there, somewhere kind of in the middle for Windwalker. As long as you're expecting a little bit more from it. And I think finally we've got Hunter. Oh no, we still got Shaman too. We got Hunter and we got Shaman, bro. Hunter and Shaman. What is the best? What is the best so far? Demonology could honestly be, but I think Ret, Fury Warrior, kind of those melee that have kind of bonky rotations anyways, where you just hit whatever kind of glows and lights up, which is funny because those are the ones where you think you'd least need the rotation assist. So as Marksmanship Hunter, it looks like it prioritizes Volley, which is going to get the double tap bonuses. Volley Rapid Fire is not a bad opener in PvP. Aim Shot. It uses both aim shots before using Arcane Shot, which means it's going to have to Steady Shot. Oh no. You would never press Steady Shot. You would press Trank Shot or something else in PvP. It also doesn't use True Shot, so that's not that great. It was looking good at the start with the Volley Rapid Fire. As soon as it spent 2 aim shots in a row and had this Steady Shot, I was like, yeah, this is not gonna be that great. This is probably like a C tier. It's probably a C tier. The Steady Shot is dragging it down a lot. The Steady Shot for sure is dragging it down a lot. Now, Beast Mastery Hunter, I think this is the one that everybody is expecting to be like. This was historically the first spec that this idea was even, iterated on back in the Burning Crusade, was Beast Mastery Hunter. So let's see what it does here. Dire Beasts, not bad. The Bestial Wraths, uses Barb Shot stacks. Then it goes to kill commands. Uses all your kill commands. Goes back to Barb Shot. Cobra Shots when it doesn't have Barb Shot or kill command. Not bad. I think this might be S tier. Unironically, the spec that this idea was ever iterated on in the first place, like the fact that it uses Bestial Wrath and Dire Beast, you pretty much can turn your brain completely off. I don't think there's anything rotationally you need to press. Maybe Call the Wild. Call the Wild would be the only thing. That's it. It does everything else for you. It does everything else for you. Call the Wild, that's it. This is the S tier. This is the S tier 1-button spec for this, which I think is fitting that it's Beast Mastery Hunter, but yeah, definitely this guy is the best for the 1-button if you were going to PvP. Which, did Beast Mastery Hunters really need more help being easy? Does Beast Mastery Hunter really need more help? I feel like Subtlety Rogue really needs more help being easier than why are my pets? What are my pets doing, bro? Get off the training dummy here. We got Survival Hunter to test out. The Melee Hunter. We got to put on a melee weapon for this as well. All right, put on a little melee weapon. What's Survival going to do for us? So it uses Spearhead. Okay. And it uses Wildfire Bombs. I think you would want to Wildfire Bomb first and then reset your Wildfire Bombs if I'm not incorrect about Survival. So that's not really like the best opener. It doesn't use Coordinated Assaults. It's prioritizing Mongoose Bite when it's got maximum energy. It doesn't just spam it though. When I think it would maybe be better to spam it. It does use Wildfire Bombs. It's not bad, but I think the fact it doesn't use Coordinated Assaults, it doesn't really account for the Wildfire Bomb reset, which is like an important mechanic in PvP to abuse. Probably like a B tier. Probably a B tier overall for this one. It does use Explosive Shot procs. It can do the damage rotation from ranged as well, it looks like, which isn't too bad. Oh, it runs out of options if you don't run out of stuff, though. I'd say probably B tier. Probably B tier for Survival. So Marksman somewhere between like B and C. BM Hunter S tier, Omega S tier. Survival more just like about a B as far as that is concerned. Get off the training dummy, guys. We got to get the Shaman. The Keybind King that has way too many keybinds. Everybody complains about it. Is Enhancement Shaman going to be a more approachable spec for a newcomer in PvP with the new 1-button macros? Elemental Shaman. This is another one that players love to use third-party software for, right? And they just bounce around. So I'm curious to see if Blizzard can make one that can compete with the third-party software, which is hopefully going to be completely nullified. Hopefully Blizzard's going to be able to limit the access that those programs get with something like this. So it looks like it uses Stormkeeper as the first ability. So it's not that bad, but Stormkeeper, Fire Ellie. It uses Magma Totem. And then Primordial Waves. It's Lightning Bolting because I have Stormkeeper. NS Lava Bursts with the Primo Wave buff, which is not bad. If I have no procs, it hardcasts Lava Burst. If I have nothing, it Lightning Bolts. Is bad. That's very bad. You would never do that in PvP. The Lightning Bolt global, you would just never press it. You would just wait for a proc, or you would purge, or you would do a different global. You would never Lightning Bolt there. It's casting a Lava Burst as Flame Shock's running off. Okay, it does reapply it. This Lightning Bolt global is bad. The Magma Totem, when it already has a Flame Shock up, is kind of bad. It can proc Ascendance, but doesn't use manual Ascendance. And it won't use the Bloodlust PvP talent, I assume. This is kind of bad. I want to see this like a D tier. Like, maybe if you just move so it doesn't Lightning Bolt, maybe that could fix it. Like, if I'm just moving like this, right, it'll just shoot nothing. So I can just keep spamming the damage button and do something else with my other globals and only use instant casts. You could probably get away with doing that, although as soon as Stormkeeper comes up, it seems like it gets pretty gridlocked at Stormkeeper. It'll want you to use it. So you could maybe be a little bit finicky with it. So maybe it's not like an F, but I'd say it's like a D tier. D tier at best. For this being like actually effective. And this is like 1500 rating or lower again. For Enhancement Shaman though, this one I think is going to have less problems because it doesn't have any filler abilities. So most of the casters, Demo Lock seemed like the best caster as far as rotations are concerned. Almost all the other casters have something that's kind of a little janky in the rotation that I think you would probably want to steer clear of it. It wouldn't really be too helpful to you. But as Enhancement Shaman, it uses Feral Spirits. It uses Surging Totem. It gets Flame Shock up. Primal Waves into Primal Storm, which is good. Doom Winds. Not bad. Lava Lash. Ellie when you're at max Maelstrom. Lava Lash. Frost Shocks with stacks, so nothing else to press. It's not bad. Ellie Blast procs. Considering this is a little bit more of a complicated rotation, I think, than like a Ret Paladin or a Fury Warrior, this is not bad. I kind of want to say this might be an S tier rotation. What is it not using? It's using most of what you need in just one button. I'd say it's pretty effective. It used Doom Winds. Like this, honestly, Enhancement Shaman and Beast Mastery might be both S tier. I'm putting this on S tier. I think this is obviously the global cooldown drags it down a lot. I think if you're competing against somebody who wasn't using the global cooldown, you would lose on overall damage. If you never played an Enhancement Shaman before, like in PvP, you could probably get away with using this at some like very beginner level play. So I think Enhanced BM, you guys are S tier. You guys are S tier for sure. That seems decent. Definitely viable. Definitely a viable option. And I think that's it. We've run the ringer. We ran the gauntlet of all the DPS specs for patch 11.1.7. So I hope you guys enjoyed this adventure. Quick little analysis of how that one button feels. I encourage you to test it yourself. Give your own feedback as well, because hopefully they'll iterate on it, because there's definitely some pain points for some of these specializations. But this is more just a fun video. Figure out which specs have the best one button rotation in PvP. And it's definitely Enhancement Shaman and Beast Mastery Hunter. You guys are the best for possibly having that be viable. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.